Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
It's so good to see you guys again. And today, we're going to talk about an actual Halloween movie.
Depending on how you think about it.
Depending on how you think about it, that's true. This is
Technically, it's a Halloween movie.
It's called Halloween 3. Season of the Witch.
Thus the mask, you guys. It's a bit.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing this. I just thought it would be funny.
Did she scare you?
Did she scare you? Guys, calm down.
I'm so scared.
It's not a tainted mask that will make you...
Right.
Make your brain turn into snakes.
Yeah. Fortunately.
Or kill your parents.
Fortunately. Yeah. So, yeah. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. There was not a witch in here except for a witch mask that only shows up a couple times.
And there was no Michael Myers.
And there was no
Unless
Michael
you count
Myers.
the 2 times that it was playing on the TV.
Yeah.
In the background.
Yeah, it was like a promo spot for Michael Myers.
So if Halloween movies aren't your jam, this might be your jam. Because
yeah,
it has nothing to do with Halloween.
And very little blood or gore or anything like that. We'll get into that in just a minute.
Yeah, we definitely have to give a shout out to Courtney's brother Craig for recommending this to us.
I'm gonna kill my little brother for recommending this movie to me. I had seen it before, but I had forgotten. I put it out of my mind
because this is coming out right around Halloween. We were like really trying to rack our brains for a movie that was Halloween themed without going into the entire, Well,
I like the Halloween movies for the most part. I mean, especially, the first and second one with Michael Myers.
We can't drag them, though, because, they're iconic.
Yeah, they're iconic. I like them. But Halloween 3 was...
that's when Craig's like, Halloween 3, you guys got to do Season of the Witch.
You got to do Season of the Witch. So
Here we are.
And let's get into it. The movie was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, who did Fright Night Part 2. He did so many, TV...
He did 1990s It.
Yes, he did. That's why I wrote that down, too. He did the miniseries It from 1990.
So he can do things.
He can do things. I also wanted to point out, he also directed a few episodes of Flipper, which,
Flipper, that's a callback, you guys.
You had to mention... that only poor kids watch Flipper, and I watched it.
She watched it.
So
you know of his work.
Yes, so I know of his work. And I've studied it. It was also... He also
wrote the movie.
Co-wrote the movie. And they also gave credit to, John Carpenter, since it was his series or whatever.
I read that he only agreed to let them do it as long as it didn't have Michael Myers in it. And
yeah,
that's a dick move.
he didn't want to do Michael Myers. He was wanting, from what I read, he was wanting to do an anthology type thing, and was forced into doing a second movie with Michael Myers because the first Halloween was so successful,
popular,
and so they did a second one with Michael Myers. Mike Myers, hey baby,
Austin Powers,
and so
from Austin Powers fame,
and he did the third one, and he was like, I'm not doing it with Michael Myers. This is supposed to be an anthology thing, and then it flopped.
Yeah, because when you think of Halloween, you think of
Michael Myers. I've been given 2 movies with Michael Myers, but they
could you imagine if they had done that with Nightmare on Elm Street or something else, or
right?
Friday the 13th? No, you have to.
You have to have Freddy Krueger. You have to have Jason Voorhees.
Yes.
Although technically Jason Voorhees wasn't always the bad guy. Sometimes it was his mom.
Yeah, but if you think about it, that's what you think of.
But yeah, exactly. It was still a Voorhees.
Yes.
And then anyway. Also, there was a small writing credit, I believe, with Nigel Neal, who he had been around forever. He did stuff he wrote stuff back in the 50s, for TV and TV movies and stuff like that. So there were 3 writing hands in this. And
the more cooks in the kitchen, the better the soup.
Yeah, exactly.
Over-season
that bitch.
Over-season it. Take out the main character. Take out the main flavor.
Take out the meat.
And just a bunch of
salty potatoes.
Salt and juice. Halloween 3, salt and juice.
Yeah. And it was also produced by Dino De Laurentiis.
Who is Giada's grandpa. Giada De Laurentiis?
Is it her
Yes,
grandpa?
it's
Oh,
her
I didn't even
grandpa.
read that. I know that
I
he.
was like, who has that name? Like, nobody, right? So I went and looked, and it's her,
Yeah.
her grandpa.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's what an interesting
Yep.
little factoid.
A little factoid.
I know that he also had like produced like Death Wish, the 1984 Dune.
1970s King Kong remake.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he also did a lot of Stephen King movies like The
Yeah.
Dead Zone and some stinkers too, like Silver Bullet and Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum Overdrive, yeah.
Whew, those are some bad ones too, but there's some good ones in there. So, it also
he helped create the Joker of the Cooking Network. So
yeah,
that's, you know.
there you go, there you go. Also, produced by Deborah Hill Productions. Didn't really find out a whole lot about her because I kind of lost interest at that point. There were so many hands in the making of this movie. It's like, okay.
Yeah, you gotta.
Anyway,
cut it off,
I gotta
otherwise
move
it's-
on.
yeah.
It was distributed by Universal Pictures, and I didn't really go into a whole lot of detail about the actors either, because
There's not a ton.
there's not a ton. Everybody only gets about 5 minutes of screen time before they're axed.
Yeah.
And so I really just touched on like the main three actors in there, which we have Tom Atkins as the lead hero.
I call him Doc.
Those
are my notes.
Dr. Dan is what I kept calling him.
Doc.
Dr. Dan. And he plays Dr. Daniel Chalice. You recognize him. He did a lot of TV.
Yeah, if you grew up
made
in
for
the 80s
TV
and the
movies.
90s, like, you know his face.
Mhm. He was in Maniac Cop. He did Night of the Creeps. I think he was in Lethal Weapon.
He was in, like, the opening sequence of a freak show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
that too. We have Stacey Nelkin, who played Ellie Grimbridge. She was also in a lot of TV, a lot of made-for-TV movies. She did Bullets Over Broadway, Everything Relative, Quakesaurus most recently.
Making a mental note.
And Mr. Cochran was played by Dan O'Herlihy, who he was in, kind of the same stuff. He was also...
He won an award for Robinson Crusoe. Like,
Oh,
old
yeah,
school
yeah, I
ones.
did see that.
I read that.
Yeah, I did see that. He was also in The Last Starfighter, RoboCop 1 and 2,
Peaks.
Twin Peaks he was in. And again, lots of TV, lots of made for TV movies and everything. So, and they were really the main the meat of this production.
Also one of the android assassins was played by the guy who played Michael Myers in Halloween Part 2. I saw that little tidbit.
I didn't see that either.
I do
Way
like
to go,
do a
Tara.
Little, I like to do a little deep dive.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's get into this.
Let's
This was awful. It was awful.
get into this.
It starts out
Northern California.
Northern
Saturday,
California.
the 23rd.
Mm-hmm. Luckily,
there's a lot of
they tell you exactly.
title credits. There's a lot of little titles through the whole.
They tell you exactly the timeline of where we're at. In
Which
this
I'm
movie.
trying to think, like, was Halloween like that? Like, the original, I think, was like that. It said, like,
Yeah.
the 22nd or the 25th.
Like how many more days to Halloween? This one does. This is similar.
I was just annoyed by them doing it in this movie.
Yeah.
because
Well, everything in this movie annoyed me.
absolutely it did.
So there's a man, and he's running from a car. And the car is
Being chased.
He's being
creepy.
chased. He goes into a junkyard, I suppose. A junkyard / gas station.
A junkie gas station.
A junkie gas station. And he runs into this junkyard, and he's tackled by one of the men from the car, a man in a suit.
A suit man.
I kept calling them the suits.
Yeah, the suit man.
The suit man. He
strangles
catches
him
a-
to the ground. Very murdery. We're like, okay, starting out, someone's gonna die.
right away.
Strangled guy, the guy who's being strangled, pulls this brick out with a chain.
Car chalk.
Yes,
he
yeah.
col-
I
he-
don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
I'm just a dainty lady. I don't know what it was called. And it just crushes the man very
Yeah,
calmly.
kind of. It
Very
kind of
slowly.
slowly rolls into him, and the suit guy is all like, and then he's dead.
Yeah.
So he gets away.
Yeah.
And the driver of the car gets out.
I was like, that's it? That's the first kill?
That's the
what's
first
happening
kill.
here?
His shoulders are squeezed
Yeah,
together.
he's just kind of like wedged in.
Yeah,
like
just
a-
wedged in.
Yeah.
He's uncomfortable. He died of uncomfortable.
I mean, can relate.
He died
can
of the
relate.
lack of comfort.
Yeah.
And so anyway, the guy runs away again. He gets away from the guy from the driver of the car, and so he runs to a nearby gas station.
It says hour later.
Yeah, it is an hour later, but the gas station is inside this junkyard, so it took him
an hour.
Took him an hour.
I mean, he was strangled a little bit. So
Yeah, he was
maybe
had to stop for air
catch
every
his
once in
breath.
a while.
He had like petechial hemorrhaging in his eyeballs.
Yeah, yeah. And so in this garage, there's an attendant sitting there, and he's watching TV, and he's watching.
He's got his feet all propped up. He's comfy.
relaxing. It's starting to storm outside. It's
Yeah.
lightning. He's watching this documentary on Stonehenge. Remember that?
And then a commercial pops up
Then a commercial pops up
for masks.
for masks, and it's for a company called Silver Shamrock.
Silver Shamrock, yeah.
Yes, and they're like, 8 more days till Halloween, Halloween. It just keeps you'll hear this
That
song a
song-
lot.
8 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 8 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
I can't.
Yeah. And the commercial instructs all the kids to make sure you go get one of 3 new masks from Silver Shamrock, and they say that they are fun, they're frightening, and they glow in the dark. So
Which is like, back then, if you could find something that was glow in the dark, that's
that's
technology.
That's technology. The peak of
There was no LED
yeah.
lights.
No.
There was none of that back
No,
then.
just like radioactive paint that you put on your face.
Exactly. Is it toxic? Who cares? You look cool.
Who cares? If it gives you cancer, you got years before
So yeah,
then.
gas station guy, he like hears a noise, and the lights go out, and then Running Man comes in and grabs him.
Grabs him. And he's like panicking, and he's like, help
They're
me,
coming,
they're coming,
they're coming.
they're coming, they're coming. And so,
And he has this mask in his hand.
and he's got this rubber mask in his hand.
like day glow orange, like pumpkin mask.
yeah,
in his
like a
hand.
jack-o'-lantern mask. And so the attendant's like, okay, I'm going to take you to the hospital. So they take off in
Yeah.
his truck. And of course, the guy in the suit from the car, the survivor, he watches them drive away.
Yeah.
So
He's just like super calm
He's
about
just
it.
super calm.
And I was like, did Mike Myers get a job? And he's like wearing a suit now, and like, what's happening?
yeah, well,
That's-
he went corporate.
I was like, he is a corporate man.
Mm-hmm.
He just got off work. He still has to find time for his alone time, finding some ways to murder people.
Halloween is just one time a year.
Treat yourself.
Yeah, treat yourself.
Treat yourself. 1986 or 82 or whatever it was. Yeah. So fast forward to meanwhile, a dad comes home and
Yeah.
the kids are all excited. And
Yeah.
I said, and the mom's being kind of a drag.
Yeah,
At first, I was anti-mom.
yeah.
At the beginning of this movie, I was anti-mom.
She's like, you're
Because
always
she's
late.
like, oh, you're always late.
Here you
Rah.
are.
But these kids are so excited because he brought this paper bag full of
yeah,
masks.
he's bringing gifts for the kids. He's about to pick them up to go do whatever they do.
But they already have masks.
But they already
So
have
Mom
masks.
already got us masks.
And by the way, this is the hero of our
Yeah,
of the
he
story.
gets a beep, and his ex-wife's being real salty to him about drinking and doctoring because he's like, oh, I gotta go back.
Yeah,
gotta
he's
go
always
back to work."
drinking. He is always
He's
drinking.
drinking a lot.
He is always drinking. His
So
name,
maybe salty ex-wife isn't salty. Maybe she's just sick of his
yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah. And his
Maybe
name
that's-
is Dan. Did we mention that? His name's Dan. That'll come
You
up
don't
some
find
more.
that out right then, though. I just was like, man, this guy, Dad.
Dad, Mr. Dad.
I hate when you're like, who is someone? Give me some.
Just call him by name, please.
Maybe use one of these little scripts across the screen to be like, this guy,
Yeah.
Dr. Dan.
Yeah,
over here.
Dr. Dan.
Yeah.
Dr. Dan. So he gets a page, and she makes.
Makes a shitty comment.
Makes
so
her a
he's
shitty
like,
comment.
okay. So he's got to go to the hospital, and turns out, Dad is a doctor.
Yeah.
So Dad's a doctor.
Dad's
okay,
a doctor.
we're catching up. And he got called in because the running guy is being brought in on a gurney, still holding the mask. I feel like the doctors would probably take it away from him. I don't think they would just let him hold it the whole time.
Right.
And that stupid commercial song's playing in the background.
Yeah, it's on all the TVs. Hey, Morty.
And the running guy wakes up and he says, "They're gonna kill us."
They're gonna kill us all.
Yeah, they're gonna kill us all. So
Yeah.
later that night, the doctor is checking on everybody, checking on the mask guy, and then there's this nurse walking down the hall, and he jokes that he should have married her instead.
And slaps her.
Grabs her ass, just slaps her ass, where apparently this hospital has no HR. There's
No.
no HR department
No.
at all because
She
this
offers
guy,
him-
this fucker gets around in this movie, man. He
Yeah.
is
He's on everybody.
hitting on
He's
everybody.
Mr. Playboy.
Mr. Playboy.
Yeah. And he looks like modern day, like Sam Elliott. You know, he's not like. I mean, I know a lot of people like Sam Elliott,
Oh
but
God,
he's.
my mom fucking loves Sam.
Oh, so does my mom too.
He's like old white lady catnip.
But this guy is like, like Wish version,
Yeah, like he's just like off center. Like,
little off. So anyway, yeah, he's already like sexually harassed his nurse.
And then like the lurky, the creepy guy from the suit, like the suit guy is like in the hallway, like just being creepy.
Yeah. Dr. Dan, he goes to go lay down and take a nap in his office, I guess. And so here comes Mr. Suit.
Creepy guy who I said took classes at Mike Myers University. He has his bachelor's in being creepy and slow walking because he's really good at it.
Yeah. Maybe that's where it really boils down to, is they're just all
That's
graduates.
where Mike Myers is. Michael Myers is teaching classes at the local community college on how to
Exactly.
murder in California.
Exactly. So he goes into, Mr. Running Man from earlier, goes into his room.
Some gloves.
Puts on some gloves.
Because
and
you
then,
want to stay sterile in this environment.
Well, yeah, this is a sterile environment. It's
You
the
don't wanna-
hospital.
It's a hospital.
And so he
And
goes
just,
over
like-
and crushes him and like reaches into his eyeballs
And just like
and pops
break-
his skull apart.
pops his skull apart, breaks his head.
Breaks it, kills him, of course.
Rest in peace, guy.
Rest in peace, dude. We'll never know your name.
Didn't know your name yet. I know your
And-
kid's name, but I don't know your name.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they mention it in passing later.
Yeah.
But I didn't. By then, I
Yeah.
was so out of this movie.
So the nurse comes in when he's walking out, and she screams. And the
screams.
doctor tries to chase him down, and the nurse is yelling, "A man!" And I'm like,
A
that's...
man!
I said, like, use your words, but honestly, in this day and age, that's probably enough info.
Right.
Just a man.
Just a man.
Just doing man things.
Right.
Chase him down.
And so Dr. Dan goes chasing after him into the parking lot.
And he just gets into the car and just, like...
Douses himself with gas.
gasoline and very just calmly lights himself on fire.
Lights himself on fire.
Kaboom.
Self-immolation right there.
Yep.
Right in front of him. But the car blows up immediately. It just boom, boom, boom. And everybody in the
Maybe
hospital...
he soaked the car beforehand? Before
Maybe.
he went in and murdered?
Maybe
He's
this
like,
was...
You want to let it soak.
Yeah, of course. You want everything to explode in this thing, because
Yes.
it does.
Yes, it
and
does.
everybody in the hospital just comes out and they're like, well, would you look at that? Like,
Wonder what caused that.
there's
That's
no
crazy.
panic or anything. They just all stand
Oh,
around.
not at all. I feel like, these people, they've seen this before.
Yeah.
So then they're like, chaos ensues. They're like calling. Everyone's on the phone. Everyone's trying to, there's
Please
people
show
walking
up.
around. And I said, there's a cop wearing a fireman's hat.
Yeah.
He's wearing a policeman's uniform, but he's wearing a fireman's hat.
They
Like,
opened the costume room and it was like, have at it, guys. Just figure out what you want to wear.
he just couldn't decide, He wanted...
Do I want to be a fireman or a policeman?
He
I'll
wanted
do
to have that
both.
cake and eat it too, What is
Yeah,
he do?
yeah, absolutely.
And so then the doctor had to call his ex-wife because, again, he can't see his kids.
He was supposed to come back and pick up his kids after the hospital trip because he got pulled away before, and now he's like,
he
hey.
can't. But then he picks up the mask and notices the little emblem on it that says,
Yeah, there's like a little trademark token on the back of it, and it says Silver Shamrock.
Silver Shamrock.
And so, of course, his wife is just like, this is just like you. And he's like, listen, 2 people just died. I'll explain
This
later.
is just like you to have murder at your hospital.
Just
What are you even doing with your life?
What-
You're supposed to be saving
again-
lives, asshole.
Again, I was like, God, his wife is just,
This is why y'all are divorced.
this is why you're divorced. I can see why.
I can see why. So fast forward, it's now Sunday, the 24th.
Right.
And everyone is standing around the dead guy who's just still laying there.
I
in
guess
the hospital room.
he's still there.
They ain't gonna put him on ice or nothing.
Right.
Just leave him. Maybe it's a slow day.
Right.
at
It's
the
a slow
hospital.
day.
I don't know.
And so the man's daughter, her name is Ellie.
Ellie comes in.
She comes in and she's like, I'm here to identify the body. And they're like, are you sure?
Are you sure about this?
Oh, and she's like, yeah, I mean, you pulled me down here. I
Just
just
like yank that sheet down, and
they
she's
yank
like,
it.
"It's my father.
That's my father.
That's my father."
That's him.
The police tell her it's probably drugs.
Yeah.
Wow, the
Like,
80s was a wild time.
Right. Cocaine.
So your head gets crushed
His,
from the drugs?
His face was crushed by cocaine.
Face was but maybe they're talking about the suit guy.
I
maybe
think
was
that
on
they were
drugs?
taken because later they mentioned drugs with the
just-
guy. So
He was very well put together for someone who's addicted to drugs.
Yeah.
He's got that cocaine strength.
Right,
but he's-
right.
Because obviously the 80s, cocaine strength.
Right. And so Dr. Dan, after Ellie comes in, she's crying and everything, and she's out in the hallway, and Dr. Dan sees her, and
He doesn't go up to her, though.
he doesn't console her. They lock eyes. And
They lock eyes, and he's like, I'm gonna fuck her later.
He's got,
He's like,
I'm
I got
out.
a list, so you're on
Yeah,
the list.
you're on
Let
the
me just
list.
Put you on my tally.
listen, I'm coming after you.
I'll be back. I'm
But
gonna let you grieve.
I'll be
now.
back.
I'm gonna let you grieve.
We'll
and
let
then
you get that out of your system.
Then we're gonna bang this out because sad chicks make me sad. I don't want to deal with
Right.
that. So jump to now, it's the 27th. Time flies. And now they're at Hot Coroner's office. That's what I call her. I'm sure she has a name. I don't know what it is.
Right. I think it was Teddy.
Teddy the coroner.
Teddy the coroner. And I don't think that she was even a coroner because she says something like, I'm trying to examine this patient, but the cops want the county to look at him or something like that.
So she just works at the hospital wanting to dig through body parts?
So I guess. Maybe she's some sort of medical examiner of some
said
sort.
coroner on the outside of the office.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah.
So she's
like,
the hospital
this guy's just a
resident
pile
coroner.
of ashes. There's nothing really to go through. I'm like, ouch, good lord.
Yeah, he's just ashes.
And I said, the doctor's about to catch himself a handful of sexual harassment cases because then he kisses the coroner out of nowhere.
Well, I was like, is that his girlfriend? Because
that's what I thought. But then things later happen, and I'm like, this man.
They're flirting and everything, and he's like, well, I gotta go. And she's like, mwah, and they kiss, and he leaves.
You know what I can bet? This is why he's divorced.
This is why he's divorced. He's a ladies' man.
He's a horny toad.
Right.
Dr. Horny Toad.
Dr. Horny Toad.
Not about it. I don't like it. Yeah.
So she
this
says,
man is a menace.
Yeah. So and then she tells him, I'll see what I can find out, but literally, this is just ashes. So we fast forward 5 days later.
Friday the 29th.
Mm-hmm. Dan's drinking at the bar.
Watching cartoons.
He asked
the person for another station, like, hey, can we change this?
Yeah, can we change it? And of course, that's where you see the commercial again and the commercial, by the way.
Wait. There is an ad for the original Halloween before they get to the commercial.
Right. They're like, tune in this
I was like, wait,
Halloween.
Stop here. We'll just watch this. Like, through the camera lens, we'll just watch the original Halloween because, like, at least we'll get some
Michael Myers. Yeah.
Something that I asked for.
Yeah, exactly.
So meta.
So meta.
That's what all the kids are saying these days.
So the commercial comes on afterwards, and it's like,
I said, pay attention, guys. This is the only time you will see Michael Myers or the Halloween franchise in this entire movie.
Yeah, they advertise for their previous movies in this movie.
They're like, if you guys don't like this one, just go back and
watch so this, this
stupid commercial comes
on. Commercial comes on, and the commercial is actually an advertisement for a big giveaway. Apparently, Silver Shamrock is doing this big giveaway on Halloween night after the movie Halloween to thank its customers for being so loyal over the years. This company's been around forever, making novelties and masks and whatnot.
I'm not even gonna lie, I completely missed that part. Every time that commercial would come on, I was just like, my brain would turn to mush.
Right. I guess it did what it's supposed to. So, but yeah, they were like, make sure you tune in for the big giveaway on Halloween night. And so, over and over and over again, we see this commercial. I was done with it.
So then the daughter comes in to the bar.
Ellie shows up.
She asks people where he was. I'm like, how often are you drunk at this bar where, like, everyone knows that that's where you are?
Yeah, exactly. The hospital told me you'd be here.
The hospital told me you'd be here and not, doctoring like you're supposed to be.
Yeah, the hospital knows that he has a drinking problem, yet he's still allowed to practice.
I said, we find out her name is Ellie, and she's giving final girl energy, but I'm not sure yet.
Right.
So
she's
her what happened
kind of
that
only
night.
girl.
Yeah. He tells her what happened that night, and then they decide to go to her dad's store.
Yeah, she's like, did he say anything to you before he died? He's like, yeah, he told me, tell my daughter that I love her very much. And she's like, you're a liar.
You're a liar, my dad.
And he's like, yeah,
he
got me.
Same.
You got me. What he did say is that everybody was going to kill us all, and
everyone's going to kill us all. And
he was holding a rubber
mask.
mask.
On to this mask.
And then she's like, I got to show you something.
Yeah.
So she takes him to her dad's novelty gift store,
and she's reading off the records.
And he keeps impeccable records. And in these records, it says that he was going to drive to this mask factory and pick up an order, and then go to dinner with somebody afterwards. Yeah. Well, he never showed up to dinner.
So something must have happened between leaving and getting to the mask factory.
Right. So so they decide.
So the doctor cancels his plans with his kids again, and now I see that his ex-wife isn't a bitch. He's just not showing up.
He's not reliable.
He is a deadbeat dad.
He's going on a road trip to a mask factory with a stranger
that he just met.
More on that later.
So they're driving out in the middle of nowhere to this Silver Shamrock Novelties in Santa Mira, which apparently is super Irish. And I was like, is this what the Irish were doing in the 80s? They're settling in small towns and making mask factories.
Yeah, it takes them a day to drive there, and all these Irish people are looking out their windows all suspiciously.
I was like, I'm Irish, and I've never heard of this Irish legend.
I've never heard of it either.
Not once. Right. I am an Irish human being.
Right.
Yeah, so this town is tiny, and they go to this little gas station where this little dude who looks like a librarian is wearing a tweed bucket hat.
Yeah.
It's a choice. It has the worst Irish. He sounds like a Lucky Charms commercial.
Right.
And he's like, top of the morning to you. What kind of room can I get you? Like,
yeah.
I'm like, okay, maybe like tone it down a little bit.
Yeah. And they decide that they're going to pose as a married couple when
and they're
going to
stay in a hotel room together. You met this man 5 minutes ago.
Like, just a few hours ago, and you're going to go... A few hours ago,
he was making out with the coroner and also grabbing a nurse's ass. And you're going to stay in a room with him?
And this predator, you're going to stay in a room with him. But they had to stay in a room so they didn't blow their cover of being married buyers.
Why did they have to be married?
Why would they even ask?
What? Can I get a room?
Yeah.
It's none of your fucking business why I need a room.
Right.
That's what I would have said.
I've never rented a room and they say, and is your husband going to stay in there? No.
Maybe because it was the 80s?
Maybe. I don't know.
If you're an old woman from the 80s, can you let me know if you could get your... You know what? I have my little old lady that comes in once a week. I'm going to ask her. Ask her if she can get her own room in the 80s.
Yeah.
In a hotel.
Or did you have to have a husband with you? So, and it couldn't be a boyfriend. It had to be a husband.
It had to be a husband, for sure.
So
then this RV comes by.
Almost hits Dr. Dan.
Almost hits them, and these people are the most annoying people ever. That little redheaded asshole is the worst. This kid jumps on his bike, and his mom's like, okay, be back before dark, and he flips her off.
Yeah, little brat son. I think he was Buddy Jr.
You know what? Just go.
Yeah.
Just don't come home.
So this couple from the RV introduces themselves
buyers.
They're also buyers going to get masks from this factory.
I'm like, so this factory doesn't deliver?
They do, but the mail order is just a nightmare. Is what
get it together.
One of the characters say. So
that's bad. That's bad business.
Right. Especially for as evil as this corporation is trying to be. But the couple from the RV, they introduce themselves as Buddy and Betty.
Buddy and Betty.
And their
Betty has some outfits, man, through this movie.
Yeah.
She's got some interesting, little prairie dresses.
Little fashionista.
And
so he also and we also watch Dr. Dan go into the front office while Ellie keeps the office man busy. He goes and looks at the register
to see if he can see
and then sees her dad had stayed at this motel. So they're on the right track, and then he comes back. He's almost hit by the RV, and then he's almost hit again by another customer
who is
Marge.
I love Marge.
And
because you know why? She didn't bring her husband. She's there to do some business.
She's doing business. Dobus.
Sisters doing business. Are doing it for themselves.
Right. And so she's mad because they screwed up her order, and she's going to have to stay at this motel for another night.
Which makes me think that the guy who owns the factory maybe also owns the motel just so he can get all the money.
Right.
It's like one of those small towns where he owns the gas station, he owns the hotel, he owns the cafe.
While Ellie is standing there with the front office dude, he waves at Mr. Cochran, who owns the factory.
Yeah, going by. You don't see him, you just see the car.
You just see the car, and he waves, and he's like, "That's Mr. Cochran. He's a genius, and he's an innovator."
Masks?
Because not just that, but he created gag gifts and novelties and magic tricks.
I wouldn't mean because you create whoopee cushions and masks, that doesn't make you a genius.
Well, it built the town. The town thrives on this factory and everything he's done for the town. So
I don't trust him. I don't trust it.
Well, no.
Meanwhile, they're back in the room, and Ellie wants to go talk to the factory owner, Mr. Cochran. But Doc says it's getting late and he needs a drink. It's still light outside, you guys.
Yeah,
but
he's an alcoholic. We've established that.
I said it's not even dark out. I think this guy's just trying to play grab ass with this poor grieving woman, and I'm right because 2 seconds later he's kissing her.
Yeah.
I was literally typing, I think he's trying to get in this girl's pants.
Right.
And then they're like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. They're in love now, I guess.
I assume.
And she just lost her dad, so she is horny.
My dad's still alive, Courtney, so I don't know.
I remember when I lost my dad 10 years ago. I just was ravenous.
Your mom doesn't listen to this, right?
No, she does. Hi, Mom.
Oh, hey.
I'm just kidding. I was not. I was very sad. But, a little bit.
So anyway, over the loudspeaker, it says it's 6 o'clock and it's curfew.
Yeah.
Stay inside. The whole town
Dr.
is wired.
Dr. Dan goes to go get himself a bottle. And he's coming back.
Yeah.
And the loudspeaker is like, it's 6 o'clock p.m.
Everyone get inside.
Have a nice night.
Have a good night.
Now, why there's a
stay in a town that I can't go out after 6?
Right, and why is there a curfew? Like,
no one says.
Don't worry about it.
Like,
curfew.
Do the suits run wild at night? Like,
yeah, that's when the suits get out.
So the whole town, you see the whole town is like worried, wired for surveillance.
Yeah. There's cameras, there's, it's so
Meanwhile, people in 2024 are getting like robbed, but in this small town in the 80s,
there's nothing getting past.
CCTV for days. Like, there is so much footage of the whole fucking town.
Right. And so
Doc, when he's like trying to get his bottle, he runs into this guy who swears he doesn't have any diseases and can I share your liquor?
Right.
That's a weird way to ask someone if
he pops out like a homeless dude, and he's all, hey, can I have a swig of that? And he's like,
I don't have any diseases.
I don't have any diseases. And he's like, sure, hands it over. Because, COVID wasn't invented yet.
So
it's okay.
Apparently no other mouth diseases were invented then either.
And so Mr. Homeless Dude toddles off, and...
I was like, he swears he doesn't have diseases and wants to share liquor with I'm sure is what someone with diseases would say.
Right.
I don't have disease. And just mouth all over that bottle. And he spills the beans that like Cochran only hired outside people for his factory.
Right. Didn't hire anybody local. He brought everybody in.
So did he really build the town up if like
the town was already there then? He didn't really build the town.
Yeah, why is he getting so much credit? He's not even hiring people from the town.
Right.
He's like hiring people from outside.
Right.
Why are we giving this man so much credit?
Right.
I don't appreciate that.
Yeah. And so after he toddles off, Dan goes back to the hotel room where Ellie is waiting for him.
Oh, wait. You're missing something.
What did I miss?
Drunk guy stumbles away and ends up back in his little bubble shed. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And a suit guy ends up very calmly ripping his head clean off.
Yeah. Yeah, he goes back to make himself like a squeezy cheese sandwich at his shack, and
this suit man just appears and just pops that head right off.
Rips his head off.
Yep, like he's popping some champagne open. Just rips it right off. Now we get back, and Ellie has gotten out of the shower.
Yeah, she's in her little black nighty shorty set with...
And she just opens up the robe.
And she's like, don't forget, we're in love. Let's do the funky monkey again.
Funky monkey. So fast forward to Marge. So Marge is in her room, and she's getting settled. She's in bed wearing the sparkliest nightgown.
Yeah.
It looks like
all by herself.
Vanna White has made this for her.
All by herself.
Sequins for days. And I said it's from the Blanche Devereaux collection.
Yeah.
And then you see the doc, and he's calling the coroner, and she says they've accidentally been autopsying parts of the car instead of the dead guy. And I'm like...
Yeah.
Don't let that coroner do my autopsy if they can't tell the difference between body parts.
Right.
And, like, we've just been, it's just a bunch of springs.
That's what she was like. She's like, it's just sifting through. There's just nothing
there's
here
no
but
body
ash.
parts. Which
there's no bones or anything.
Because you have no idea how hot something has to burn to like burn an entire body. Mm-hmm. Not to be gruesome, but like
I heard that it's like over 2,000 degrees for.
It's not a quick explosion in a car.
Right. It would have had to smolder for a couple hours,
before. Very high temperatures.
So there's no bones in this.
Yeah, and so he goes back to the room. And Ellie's in her lingerie, and they fook, and to some of the creepiest music I've ever heard. It's creepy music.
Yeah, and it gets, like, weirdly graphic for a second.
Fast forward, she wants to go again, and this is when he asks how old she is.
I said, wait, hold up. You didn't ask that before? You've already gone through round one with her, and you're like, hang on, how old are you?
Hang on, how old are you?
And she's like, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
I'm older than I look.
Okay. Which is something someone who's too young would say.
Which, that's not an answer.
That's not an answer.
I need a number here.
I need to see some ID. Absolutely. So Marge is in her room, and she's about to go to sleep, but she sees this mask emblem.
Yeah, the trademark chip fell off.
And she looks at it. It's got like a microchip in it. And then she like pulls a bobby pin out of her hair.
Yeah, and she's
which is like, if you're a woman, you know you don't sleep with
sleep in that.
You don't sleep with bobby
pins
in your
sleep.
hair. It's so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it shoots a laser right through her mouth.
Right into her mouth.
Yep.
And, yeah. And
they don't really stop fucking while poor Marge's mouth is being exploded, and then bees come out of it. Bees come out of her mouth. What's happening?
Was it a bee?
Here?
It was like a spider bee, kind of like.
It was a bug.
It was a bug. A bug comes out of her mouth.
Was the bug already in her mouth?
And and Dan and Ellie are just like, what was that?
Anyways. Anyway, so Doc gets out of bed, and they see the Shamrock truck and a gurney.
Up. Yeah, like a van pulls up, and they pull out a gurney, and they're like, oh no, what happened to Marge?
On the side.
Yeah.
I would be very suspicious of
right.
a toy factory van.
Right.
Also, that proves you can deliver. You got a van.
Yeah. But it had a gurney in it, so there was no room.
There's no room. They're just there picking up parts, I guess. And they take away Marge's body. Mr. Conkling's like, don't worry about it. We're going to get her the best care.
Don't worry. She's not dead. We're just going to go get her some care.
She's not dead. We're going to take her back to the factory.
Which
again, I have questions.
Yeah.
Why is she going to the factory?
And he's like, we have a health care facility at the factory, so don't worry about it.
She had lasers through her mouth, and there's bugs coming out of it.
Yeah.
She needs to be seen by a doctor. And he's like, I'm a doctor. Hello, I'm a doctor.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the white coats that's with him is like, hey, Mr. Cochran, what happened? And he's like, misfire. And and Dan and Ellie overhear this, and they're like, what does that mean? And then they slink away.
And I said, this is when they should have packed up and just left.
Yeah.
They should have packed up and went home.
Right.
You know what? Your dad's already dead. We can't make him not dead.
We can't do anything about it.
Would you like to join me in a foursome with the nurse and the coroner?
Yeah.
Let's just go back to town. It'll be fine. Fast forward, Saturday, the 30th. So Doc's on the phone with the coroner. She says, someone must have tampered with it because there was never a body at all. There's no body.
Right. There's no body. There's just not. There's not bone fragments.
And he asks her to investigate, to which I say, none of this is any of you guys' job.
Right. She's a doctor, and he's like, I need you to investigate Mr. Cochran.
Yeah, she's the coroner.
Yeah.
He's a doctor.
And he's like,
why are they doing all the policemen's work? Where are the police? There's no police?
No, they're all still milling around. Going, uh-oh.
Trying on each other's hats like
trying on each other's hats. I'm a fireman now.
Look, I found a cowboy hat. I said, she's not a reporter or a policeman or the FBI, and neither are you. You guys need to... But you see there's a recording device under it, so it's recording their conversation.
Right. Because somebody is surveillance. Yeah.
There's surveillance. So Doc and Ellie go to the factory, and the same annoying people from the RV are there.
Buddy and Betty,
and their little shithead, redheaded... Buddy Jr.
I think it is. Something like that. Whatever.
And the wife is wearing a Little House on the Prairie ensemble. That's because I take notice of these things.
Mm-hmm. Buddy tells Dan that he sold more, or he's
like the top seller.
He's like a top seller, and Mr. Cochran comes out and shakes his hand. He's like, this man sold more masks than anybody else in the country.
Everybody. Mr. Cochran's like, hey,
it's good to see you, buddy.
You guys want to come on the tour too? Let's go on this tour.
Yeah, let's go on this tour. So Dan and Ellie go with him on this tour, and it looks like a regular factory. They're pouring rubber molds and
I'm like, none of this is animatronic. Like, none of this is like, they wasted their robots.
Yeah.
Why didn't they have robots?
We haven't got to the robots yet.
So sorry.
Hang on.
Spoiler alert.
Hang on.
I'm just saying, like, they don't have any kind of like.
There's no automation.
There's no automation at all. It's just dudes pouring masks.
Yeah, everything is done by hand. They're pouring masks into a mold.
You know why? It's because Cochran's like 9 million years old.
Right. That's probably it. Although he likes robots. Which we'll get to.
Hang on. So the doc notices a couple of super stone-faced dudes in the parking lot.
Yeah, they're all in suits. They look like Secret Service. They're all at different vantage points.
Just dead-faced.
Yeah. And
he tells Ellie they look familiar.
He's like, those look like the dudes that killed your dad.
And then she sees her dad's car in this garage.
Under a tarp.
And this stone-faced man won't let her go, see
Yeah, she gets stopped, and so she runs back to Dan into his arms, and they're like, we got a boogie. Let's get
at the hotel, the doc says, I think it's time for the Marines.
I think it's time for the Marines.
I said, what? Who wrote this? Like, why would you not, you're not even going to try to call the cops?
Yeah, what did you see?
Straight the Marines.
What did you see that the Marines would care about? Like, they were using rubber?
Is that what the Marines care about?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know. Okay, so Doc goes to check out and use the phone, and he tries to call the police. Not the Marines. I guess he didn't have their number.
Yeah.
And that commercial comes on again, and the operator says no calls can go through.
Yeah, he can't get out.
He tries it, and the same thing happens.
Yeah.
He can't get a call out.
So
he leaves, goes back to the room, and Ellie's gone. But there's a lot of those stone-faced suits.
Yeah. Bunch of the
suits.
And
they chase him through the streets.
Mm-hmm. He's ducking out of the way, hiding in the shadows.
Yeah.
Trying to use payphones within the town. They won't let him call out.
They won't work, and he sees a Shamrock car pull into the garage, and Ellie gets pulled out. And he tries calling the cops again. It's not working.
Nothing works.
So he breaks into the factory.
Really easy. He just kind of pokes around and then... He's walking around the factory.
Maybe use some of those suits to put them in a
yeah,
a different uniform. So
right.
they can walk around and check things.
Yeah, exactly. They don't always have to wear a suit.
I'm saying bodyguard. That's not the right name. What is the name? Not crossing guard. What is the name for the people who guard things?
Security?
Security guard. It's been a day.
I kept calling them like evil Secret Service, but
I was like, yeah, get them a security guard uniform, and then maybe they'll be like, oh, I'm supposed to be security now.
Right.
When they're just in a suit, maybe they're just waiting for a meeting. They don't know what's happening.
Right. Unless the suits were supposed to make them blend in.
To what?
But
it's
they
a
don't.
Factory.
They're all wearing suits, so
maybe
they don't
teach
blend
them
in.
to smile.
Yeah, exactly.
Like a smile will go a long way.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So yeah, he breaks into the factory so he could see like the little hidden room that like they weren't allowed to go in on the tour.
Yeah.
And he goes into this room and there's a woman knitting and he's trying to talk to her.
Old lady, and she's knitting
and
furiously.
it turns out she's a robot.
He shakes her.
And her head falls off.
He shakes her and he's like, "Where's the girl?" And her head falls off.
But she's still
knitting. But she's still knitting. So she's not a well-made robot. Her head just kind of...
It just falloop-a-looped onto the ground. Yeah.
Falls off. And
so
then
a man grabs him and he punches him. He punches through what is a robot, and it's filled full of honey and wires. It's full of
goo and
which
wires.
Seems like if you're building a robot, goo would not be something that you would put in the robot. Wouldn't it mess with the wiring?
I don't know, unless it's like petroleum based or something. Maybe it helps it move.
Just looby robots.
Yeah. Makes it harder to hold on to.
Makes me wonder what Cochrane's doing with these robots later on. If they're full of lube and wires, what are they doing?
Yeah, and this robot really, like, kicks his butt.
No, for sure.
But all he has to do is
one
just, like...
One sucker punch to the chest.
One sucker punch in the abdomen, and the robot's done for. Like, okay, so it is kind of easy to beat this thing.
And there's wires and goo everywhere.
There's wires
So he asks where Ellie is, and Cochrane says she's resting.
She's resting.
And that it's almost Halloween morning. Which is a busy day for him.
Yeah.
So fast forward. Halloween.
Comes
across the screen.
Yeah.
So they take Doc to the secret final processing room that he'd been wanting to go into. And they go down this elevator. And Cochrane starts telling him how he makes all these robots. And all the suitmen, we are learning now,
are robots. Yeah.
Okay.
He likes robots more because they're more compliant and... you know, better than humans, more obedient than humans.
They don't ask questions.
So they don't ask questions.
So the underground layer is huge.
Yeah, it's a big warehouse.
It's giant. And there's a lot of computers and dudes in white coats. I'm guessing they're not robots. I don't know. Are they people?
I don't know. I think that they're robots. I think that they're more robots. I think everybody who works at this factory is robots because he brought them all in.
Which sucks, because guess what? That he doesn't have to pay anybody.
Right.
You think these robots are
That's why
earning
he's so
a living
rich.
Wage? Yeah, because he's a cheapskate.
That's why he was able to wire up the whole town with cameras.
And apparently has, like, part of Stonehenge there. It was a big...
Okay, this part is where I was really
break it down
like...
for us, Courtney.
Okay. He's in this warehouse.
There's
all these white coats doing scientific things with computer chips, because we'd seen what the computer chips does. And then he's like, by the way...
They get the power from...
We brought Stonehenge here, and you look up, and there's all these white coats, like, chiseling away
at
Stonehenge. And he's like,
Stonehenge.
It was quite a feat to get it here. It's like, they didn't notice back in England. They're like, hey.
He can't deliver masks, but he can bring Stonehenge over.
He can bring Stonehenge to this warehouse. And nobody in England's like, hey, where did Stonehenge go?
I said, they have rock power? Question mark?
And he's like, yeah.
Because of
like,
the druids and the, the
power, blah, blah, blah.
Which power or something. They don't say it.
So apparently
power,
Stonehenge in the powder of its rocks has power to do something.
To make robots? What is the power?
I don't know. What is the power? It makes robots? It makes people...
But he could have made the robots already.
Yeah.
What is the power for?
Yeah.
Is that what makes the kids are going to turn into snakeheads? Is
that the power? No, I don't know. Stonehenge has power. That's all we got to know at this point. Stonehenge has power.
So cut to the RV family.
They're like, Dan, you need to see...
you got to see what we're doing.
What we're doing here with it.
We'll show you what we're doing. So
they take him to the
test room.
To the test room. It's CCTV again. He's watching all this happen. And Buddy and Betty, little Buddy,
shithead redhead. Yeah, they're being held in this test room, and the commercial comes on. And this redheaded little shit, he puts on his mask. Wait for it. You guys are really gonna watch this on YouTube.
Yep.
puts on his mask.
Yeah. And then the commercial comes on and it's like, it's time for the big giveaway. It's not. It's just a test.
It's not. It's just a test. So he puts on his mask and his head melts into the floor and a bunch of snakes and bees comes out of the mask.
Yeah.
What
out of him.
Yes, out of him.
Out of him. Yeah. The pumpkin starts flashing on the screen and he grabs his head.
Falls to the ground.
Falls to the ground and then like crickets and roaches and spiders and snakes
like
all
things
just
are,
like come
and
out
the mom
of his
was
body.
Like, woo! Like
Mom faints or something.
She can't hang.
Dad tries to leave the room
and he gets bit by a snake.
He gets bit by a snake and he dies.
Rest in peace, Dad.
Yeah. And so of course Dan is
so
like,
the kid's dead?
Yeah, I guess yeah. Kid's dead.
Okay.
So next kill was a child.
I said, how does a human head turn into snakes, you might ask? Good question.
The power of Stonehenge.
The power of Stonehenge. The power of Stonehenge compels you.
I have the power.
I have the power.
So, yeah.
So, cut to...
Dan, he sees this all happen on CCTV, and he's bothered.
He's a little bothered.
He can't keep watching.
He can't watch this.
And so, yeah.
He's not built for this. He's built for
doctoring.
Doctoring and feeling up women who don't want it.
And feeling up nurses and doctors.
And, yeah. So, cut to a million TVs playing this commercial. Masks are flying off the shelves across the country. Everyone's buying these masks.
This is going to be bad.
And then Sexy Corner is calling the motel to talk to the doc, but no one's answering.
Nobody's answering.
And a robot suit guy sneaks in, grabs a drill out of a drawer.
Yeah.
Cornering. Mm-hmm. And drills right through her ear.
Yeah. Just drills into her.
That's a wrap on.
And that's a wrap on Lady Doctor.
Lady Doctor Corner.
Yeah. What I thought was funny, too, is during that scene, she's, like, trying to call it. She's like, I don't think these are car parts I'm looking at.
Yeah.
And there's, like, because they're all springs and gears and everything. Yeah. She's like, these aren't car parts. And then they're
Although we don't really see any springs or gears in the robots.
Right.
It's just goo and wires.
Goo and wires. I think at one point maybe you kind of see. I don't remember.
I don't know.
I was having a hard time not tuning out during this movie, so I probably missed a lot.
I had to take a break.
And so at any rate, so she gets Lady Doctor Corner gets drilled
through her ear. Meanwhile,
not by Dr.
Dan,
but yeah.
Meanwhile, Cochran has Dan tied up, and the reasoning behind all of this is that he loves a joke.
He loves a joke.
Sacrifice.
He's like, why? Dr. Dan asks, why are you doing this? And he's like, this is a joke on all the kids because back in the old land, because you remember, this is all an Irish town or whatever.
It has to do with Stonehenge.
And, Halloween meant something else to them, and they used to sacrifice animals and kids. So what better way to play a joke on the kids than by sacrificing them on Halloween?
So he puts on the original Halloween for him and then leaves them all tied up. Mm-hmm. He's like, you're going to sit here. You're going to watch Halloween.
Yeah, and they put a mask on him.
And a mask on him.
Yeah, because the mask apparently turns you.
So he scooches to the TV. He's scooching, and he breaks the TV with his feet. What is this TV made out of? It's cheap.
I don't know.
He just breaks
they used to be kind of easier to break back in the day when they were glass.
And he uses some of the glass from the TV to untie himself.
Yeah, saws through his restraints.
And he gets up into the vents.
Again, always escape through the vents.
Onto the roof.
Super easy. He gets to the roof.
And he sneaks back in to call his ex-wife.
Yeah. Well, he tries to call her, and she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, throw the masks away, because earlier in the movie, she had
already got the masks.
Masks with this evil.
And they hate each other, and she doesn't really want to hear it. And
she's like, are you drunk again?
I said, I guess you should have been a better dad.
Yeah.
She would have listened to you.
You shouldn't have been so drunk all the time.
So he finds Ellie tied up in a room, and they see it on the cameras, and they send a pack of suit robot jobs after him. Mm-hmm. And the doc ends up messing with the computers and plays the commercial, and he rains down a bunch of, laser chips from the catwalk.
Yeah, they're creeping around behind all the lab workers working on Stonehenge, and they notice that those little trademark chips that are on the back of the masks are in boxes.
Lasered poor Marge.
And so the sequence of events that happens here is really confusing to me. He goes out, turns on the evil video for all the lab technicians and everything. So it's, la 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 la. And so while that's going on, suddenly he gets from the floor of the warehouse.
So now he's on the catwalk.
Now he's on the catwalk. And I can only assume that he beamed there because he would have had to run across, up the stairs.
Used the power of Stonehenge.
He probably used the power of Stonehenge. That's why you need the power. At any rate, he also had somewhere grabbed Ellie and a box of these.
Yeah.
These
so
little
he's
chips.
Making it rain.
So he's up there dumping it while this commercial's playing, and as they fall, they're like zapping all the workers.
Lasers. Yeah,
everything
and
lasers.
And then all the robot suits turn into honey, and it's like
that's when we find out that the lab workers are also robots.
Yes.
They are robots, and then Stonehenge zaps out.
The commercial's making a giant laser circle around.
Yeah, around all the computers.
And Mr. Cochran starts clapping.
Yeah.
He's enjoying this.
He's enjoying this, but he also, I think, knows at this point. I would be
pissed. That's a lot of wasted money and time.
Right, but he knows he's done for.
You kidnapped Stonehenge.
Yeah, you took Stonehenge, but whatever. So then Stonehenge shoots him with the laser.
Yeah.
And the circle that it created shoots him with the laser, and he just kind of fades out of existence.
Yep, he's just kind of like,
and he's gone.
He's gone.
Disappeared.
So then they run away, and they get in their car, and they drive off.
They run away all the way to the motel within seconds while this is happening. Again, the power of Stonehenge beams them to their car, and they get in their car.
She runs a lot faster than her dad, I'll tell you that, because her dad, it took him an hour.
To get to the gas station, but yeah.
So Doc says we have to call someone, but Ellie grabs Doc, and then they crash into a tree.
Yeah.
And Ellie is a
robot.
she
attacks him.
Yeah. He crashes. Ellie's a robot.
Ellie is a robot. They had turned her into a robot.
How do you turn?
When did they do that? She wasn't gone for that long. She was gone for like a couple hours at most. Was it the power of Stonehenge that did it?
Was she a robot the whole time?
Was she a robot the whole time? Was her dad involved in it?
That's what I'm thinking, because I was thinking maybe she was undercover to get to the doctor.
Maybe she wasn't his daughter all along. They sent her to
because
go
remember
fetch
when
him.
They were fooking and he asked her how old she was and she was like, "Don't worry about it."
Yeah,
because you're fucking a robot.
Because you're
and that's why they're fucking so much because she's full of lube.
Yeah, convenient.
There's a lot of questions. So anyway, Ellie's a robot now, and he goes to the other side of the car where her arm is still.
Is severed. I guess in the crash, she severed her arm, and he gets out.
He grabs the tire iron and he smacks her on the head, and her robot stump twitches, and he hits the robot in the head and decapitates her.
Yeah, knocks her head off,
and her robot eyes keep twitching.
Right.
And he gets back into the car, and her robot hand is in the car, and it strangles him.
Yeah,
And he gets out of the car, and he pulls it off, and he yeets it into the woods. And then her headless body
attacks him.
These robots are built to last.
It's quality. That's Irish quality for you.
Maybe she was going to be the next generation.
Maybe.
She's like the iPhone 15.
Right.
And they're like the first iPhone.
Right.
And so, yeah, he yeets in the woods, and then it's attacking the other hand. The hand is attacking. He runs through the woods and runs into that same...
He goes to that gas station.
That same poor bastard. That same poor...
attendant, yeah.
That same poor gas station attendant who was just trying to be a good guy.
Yeah, he's just hanging out.
And he says, "Don't I know you?" And on the phone...
He, grabs the phone. He's like... I don't know who he calls, but he's like, "Hey, you've got to stop the broadcast." But he only calls one person. I guess, the president of TV.
Well, back then, there were probably only 2 channels.
There were 3, because
he calls the first 2.
He calls the first one,
and calling the last one. He can't get them to.
And he's like, "It's still on the 3rd channel. Take it off the 3rd channel."
A bunch of kids come into the gas station to trick or treat because that's where you go trick or treating, right?
Well, I think they came in to see the big giveaway because it was time for the big giveaway. So they came in to see the TV there.
I just don't understand this giveaway. What difference is it going to make?
I don't know what are they giving away?
Death.
They're not. Yeah.
Snakes
and
crickets. Bugs. Lube. Mm-hmm. That's what all children want.
You get your own robot.
Lubey robot. But yeah, so the kids are watching the commercial, and it's been taken off 2 stations, but not the 3rd.
Not the 3rd one. So they're watching this 3rd one. And he's yelling at whoever on the phone to turn it off of the 3rd.
And then guess what happens? The end.
I don't know. I don't know what happens because it's credits. I hate when they do that.
But
yeah, so we don't know. We don't know if it gets taken off. We don't know if America's Children gets turned into bugs and snakes. I don't know what happened. I don't know.
I was born in 1982. Maybe I'm a robot right now. Maybe you should sucker punch me through the stomach and see if I...
Maybe we should do it, and then I'll find out later.
You'll know, because there'll be so much lube.
There'll be so... Why, Tara?
That's a different YouTube channel altogether, you guys.
Yeah, you have to...
That's an OnlyFans. You guys are going
to have to subscribe to that one.
Subscribe to that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's only $4 a month.
Yep, you can afford it. You can afford it.
So, yeah.
All in all, this movie was...
Oh, my gosh.
Infuriating.
It's infuriating because it's so discombobulated. It doesn't make sense. Where did the robots come from? Why does he have the robots? How are they made? Why did he take Stonehenge? Why did nobody notice that Stonehenge is missing?
Because I don't feel like it was all of Stonehenge. It was like a rock from Stonehenge.
Yeah, but I mean, they kept saying, we shipped Stonehenge here. It didn't say, they don't ever say, we
didn't look like all of Stonehenge.
It didn't look like it. Maybe they had the rest in the back somewhere because.
Like for later.
Yeah, for later. Because they were, I don't know. I don't know what Stonehenge had to do with it.
Because if he had all of Stonehenge, why would you not use all the power of Stonehenge instead of just from one rock? Maybe your plan would have worked if you would have used from all of Stonehenge.
Right. Maybe
I'm a planner. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know.
Like I would.
What did the snakes? Okay, and if they're from Ireland, they do realize because he was talking about Halloween in his home country, and they're all Irish and everything. Stonehenge is in England. Number one. Number two.
Mr. Conklin doesn't know his landmarks and where they're from.
Yeah. Number two is that I thought that Ireland was free of snakes because of St. Patrick. So why does it turn him into more snakes?
Also, why is he so anti-American? If you're from, why aren't you doing this shit in Ireland then? Why are you doing it here?
Right.
Is it because Americans bastardized Halloween?
Yeah. And then after you take out all the kids, who's going to buy all your novelty gag gifts?
Because I'll tell you what, as soon as these kids are dead, these parents are going on vacation. They're not making more kids.
Right. Right. Unless
they're living their fun, child-free lives. They're not making more children.
Well, as we saw before, the snakes bite the parents and kill them too. So there's like nobody left. This is a lot of sacrifice for whatever.
For a gag.
For a gag. I don't know. I don't know.
I could theorize forever on why.
Well,
but I also don't want to waste my own time. Because it just seems...
I don't know if I'll ever watch this movie again.
I 1000% will not.
I don't know. I might have to.
If we're super drunk or high one night, maybe we will. But
yeah.
It will be a together situation. I don't want to watch this movie by myself.
Yeah. Yeah, because watching it by myself, it was agonizing.
It might be more fun when we're real drunk.
It was agonizing.
Because I was stone cold sober on a Monday.
Could you imagine? I mean, we were little kids at this time. You were a baby.
I was a baby.
You were a little baby, and
I was 10 months old.
Yeah, so we weren't even we didn't get to see this at the theater. Could you imagine our disappointment if we had gone to see?
I would want my $1.50 back. I'll tell
you Halloween.
That right now.
Yeah, no kidding.
I wonder what the promos were like. Like, I wonder what the commercials were like. Like, did it have like?
I don't know. I bet you out there somewhere in YouTube
or
land, there's a trailer for it somewhere.
Or is the commercial just that stupid Halloween song? Because I would...
Oh my gosh. By the end of this movie, I was so tired of hearing the London Bridge song. Halloween.
Yeah,
Halloween.
If I were the creator of the London Bridge song, I would sue.
Oh yeah. Although that person's probably dead. That song's been around for a long time. But, okay, some trivia about this movie. I found quite a bit, but the ones that I found the most interesting, of course, we have already talked about how, John Carpenter did not want to bring back Michael Myers for this movie, and it just went off the rails, and it was a bad idea. And so Halloween after that had Michael Myers in it.
I believe his mistake.
I believe that he actually, at some point after this, sold the franchise, and so it wasn't in control of the character Michael Myers anymore.
Well, whoever else took control of it, thank you.
Thank you for bringing back.
Yes.
So, another little factoid that I thought was interesting is that the main character, Dr. Dan, played by Tom Atkins, was married to the actress who played Marge.
Really?
Yeah, so he's like...
I wonder how she felt about him getting his freak on for the whole fucking movie.
Like,
right. Literally hitting on every woman but her.
Scene. And also, the actress that played Dr. Dan's ex-wife was married to the director. So...
He's like, you know who's a bitch? My wife.
My wife. Let's put her in this. The motel that they used to film in burned down shortly after.
Yeah, because they didn't want any trace of this
movie. The town that they filmed this in was also where they filmed The Fog, Halloween 1 and 2, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Return of the Living Dead 2, and most recently Bird Box.
Oh,
so, interesting. And this movie was also included on the late Roger Ebert's most hated list.
Oh, congratulations, you guys. Deserve it.
Yeah. So,
you deserve it.
It's awful.
It's a stinker. Yeah. And I'm not as salty as I was about doing The Gate last week's episode. But
again, this one is not my fault. It was suggested by my brother Craig.
That's true.
So
this is Craig's fault.
This is Craig's fault.
We're coming for you, Craig.
Don't worry, I know where he lives.
All right, you guys. Like, subscribe, tell everybody to watch us. We're funny.
Yeah, I think we are.
I think we're hilarious.
So, and if we can reach one person, each other,
that's why we got into this.
Then this my job is done. This is why I got into it.
That's why we got into this.
So we love you guys. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Don't wear any masks that are connected to Stonehenge.
Yeah. Yeah, don't wear any Stonehenge masks, and also
stay out of tiny Irish towns.
Stay away. Yeah.
We'll see you guys next time.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.